This is Natural Powerlifting Radio. Deadlifts, chicken nuggets, video games. This is Check My Total, a powerlifting podcast with Timothy Payne and Andrew Hinson.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Check My Total podcast, it is the duo back this week with another episode. And we're going to be talking about living on borrowed time this week. We're going to be talking about. And so what I mean by that is a lot of people have noticed that there's a lot of young people in the sport of powerlifting, of new young people, and they're coming in clutch, and they're breaking records, they're getting strong really fast, and you might be kind of a middle-aged person or, I don't know, like a 50-year-old or something, and wondering, like, how in the world are these kids getting so good so quickly? Like, how, like, even if you're like 24, 23, and you're looking at these, like, 15, 16-year-olds just killing it out there, how are they doing it? So that's kind of what we're going to go talk about, and kind of talk about like priorities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like a lot of people when they get into this sport, you know, people do it for different reasons, but we're going to kind of focus on the competitive side of things. And a lot of people, you know, I would say the first thing you want to do is, like, most people get infatuated with like some type of record. Whether it be a weight class, a total record, a bench, squat, or deadlift record. And, you know, a lot of people might wonder, how in the world, like, how do I beat these records when there's like a 16-year-old out there who's squatting double or triple what I'm doing right now? And so we'll kind of go over this, you know, I think a lot of times we look at it from different perspectives, and we always look at it from like how come I'm not able to squat as much as this 15 or 16-year-old or something. And a lot of it has to do with like time and how much time you have to dedicate to a certain sport. I mean, one of the main reasons I hit elite was because I was young, and, you know, the only responsibilities I had were going to school and doing homework.
Right.
That was all I had to do. I just had to do my homework.
Well, I got to say, one good thing about you is that you showed up every morning, 5 o'clock in the morning.
It's true. Every morning at 5, we go to the YMCA.
Yeah. But I agree with you as far as the responsibilities and everything, but as far as just young people being bigger, stronger, faster, I think it's like that across the board. Like, each new generation just seems to be more freakier than the last. Because, you know, you look at people, you know, from the 1930s or whatever, where your average height for a man was, I don't know, like 5'7" or something, and now the average height is probably 6 foot or better.
Yeah.
Like, just over time, people have gotten freakier.
You're right. That's a big part of it. And, you know, some people, I guess, can kind of get down in powerlifting if they start trying to chase all these numbers. And,
right.
You know, if you're like 24, 25, 26 and above, and you have a full-time job, you have bills to pay, places to be, maybe you're married, you might even have a kid or something, and you start to realize that, you know, maybe lifting weights isn't more important than my child.
Right.
And so you know, if your kid's complaining or like having some issues, or he's sick or something or whatever, you know, you're probably not going to go to the gym that day. Whereas, man, a kid is just going to go to the gym. Like,
yeah, he has nobody to worry about except for himself or herself.
They ain't got nothing to worry about. And so, you know, especially in the sport of powerlifting, you know, everyone likes to have this mindset of, hey, if I work hard, I can do anything. I can beat the best. Well, sorry to tell you, that might work for horseshoes, but that doesn't work for powerlifting. The cruel reality of the sport is powerlifting is only so technical. It's only so technical. Like, you can only do so much for the bench press as far as your technique goes. You can only do so much for your deadlift. You can only do so much for your squat. At some point, like genetics and how easily you put on muscle, how easily it is for you to adapt to heavier weights, like a lot of that's genetic.
Yeah. Now, I believe that you can work hard and eventually hit elite numbers, but some people it
Yeah,
might take them 10 years versus, you get a genetic freak, it might take them 2 years.
yeah,
So, I mean,
or 5 months.
there's always somebody out there that's going to be stronger and,
Yeah,
faster twitch muscle fibers and everything than you are.
yeah, and that's okay because the the real uh the real coaches or trainers are people that take average people and give them elite numbers throughout the years and
Right.
help guide them to the elite status. I mean, it took me a total of like 8 years to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm not I'm not a genetic freak at all. I'm a pretty normal guy. So I mean, it really like for me instance, it's not like yeah I've hit elite, but like I mean, there's people that are my size that can probably do totals of like 1,700 and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's probably like it's good, but man,
I mean, and we have age groups and weight classes for a reason. Like, if
yeah,
you're constantly looking over your shoulder at the young bucks coming up, which I guess if you're an open lifter, you can be competitive. But if you're constantly worried about, this 17-year-old is going to break my records in 10 years, when he's 27, then that ain't the way to go about the sport. You need to get your records while you can, and you can't do anything about the future,
exactly.
if that
Records are
makes
meant to be
sense.
broken.
Yeah.
They're meant to be broken. They'll be broken. And powerlifting, you had to learn that it's you know trying to beat whatever you did last time.
Yeah.
Trying to
Which
get better at what you did last time.
And we
It,
say it all the time on this podcast. Powerlifting is you versus you.
yeah. I mean, it's good to get some competition. Like there's definitely there's a time and a place for trying to beat everyone in your weight class,
Hmm.
but you can't be worrying about like this freak of a 16-year-old.
And
Um,
another thing, which this goes over all sports, but another reason athletes and stuff are way better nowadays than what they were, 20, 30, 40 years ago, is because of the education and how much smarter people are when it comes to strength training and how to train for their sport.
yep.
Like, there's high school programs in like Texas and stuff that rival, college programs as far as how they're set up and what kind of coaching these kids are getting. So that's got a lot to do with the progression of young people nowadays too.
You're right. It really does.
We were watching NFL Network, and there's a guy from Alabama that just got drafted in the first round, top 3 pick. His name's Quinnen Williams, and he's a defensive tackle out of Alabama. Anyways, the Jets drafted him, and they were asking him in an interview what he was doing in the off season, and he said that he was doing personal training and stuff, but he didn't hire a personal trainer. He was doing all his drills from watching YouTube videos. So
Hmm.
that's another thing. I mean, there was no such thing as YouTube. What, 15 years ago? I don't know how old YouTube is. It's still relatively new when you think about it.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many resources with the internet and everything nowadays to where it's just so much easier, if you can filter through all the crap to excel at something.
Exactly. And another hard thing is like to be great at a sport or to hit hit elite numbers in powerlifting or to be ranked really high in your sport, I mean, that takes a lot of time and dedication, and it's a lot easier for a younger person to do that, to dedicate that time, than it is for someone who's got a family and stuff.
Right. And
It's definitely still possible.
And the sad part is, which is kind of the boat I'm starting to get in, is having all this knowledge and knowing that I need to do it while I'm young, but being too foolish not to get it done. Because, one day you'll wake up being 40 saying, I wish I could do this, when by that time your body and stuff's not in tune with the work that you have to do. So definitely, if you want to knock out some records and hit elite, it's best to do it while you are younger.
Yeah, it's best to do it when you're young, when you don't have all these responsibilities that can potentially hold you back, because you have to dedicate a ton of time and you have to sacrifice a lot for it. But now, obviously, you can still do it, if you have, families and whatnot, but, it might take a little bit longer, it might just be, it's going to be more difficult. But.
And we've known plenty of guys, kind of like what we were talking about, that will get up, 5 o'clock in the morning or come home after work and work out at midnight. They find a way to put it in their day, even with their children and their wives and whatever else. If you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to squeeze it into your schedule.
Exactly. So, you might just have to want it a little bit more than that 15-year-old.
Yeah. And you got to go about your training a little different too, as far as your recuperation and, trying to stay injury free, being older.
That's true. Yeah.
The older you get, there's less that you can get away with, if that makes sense. But you should be more educated than a 17-year-old to know not to make certain mistakes as far as your programming or, overtraining. That's
true. I'll tell you the biggest powerlifting fad that ever hit the nation. It was all these young people doing it, man. It was the Bulgarian the Bulgarian squat thingy workout plan. It was.
What was it? Wasn't it like Smolov or something like that?
No, it was.
What is that?
Smolov or Smolov, whatever it is. That's just a really intense squat program.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't know. You could probably. That plan's pretty intense. Probably would not recommend it if a normal human being.
But anyways, the Bulgarian squat. Explain that.
Man, this was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. So, it was this program where you max out. Well, you're not supposed to max out your squat every day, but you max out your squat every day because you work up to like a minimum. So like. Let's say your squat's 500 and your minimum, like even if you're sick and you're not feeling good, you can still squat 450. So the idea was every single day of the week, like probably 6 or 7 days, you go in the gym, you squat your daily minimum. So you squat 450. Then if that feels good, you squat 470. If that feels good, you do 485. If that feels good, try 500. If that feels good, you basically just keep going up until you get above, like, until you start reaching your 1 rep max, and then you kind of quit. You're supposed to quit a little before your 1 rep max, so maybe like 475, 480s when you quit. But what happened was everyone and their mama was on this thing. And
yeah, if you ever want to see what trends are happening in powerlifting, all you gotta do is hop on Instagram. There's about 50 videos of people doing the same exact thing.
Yep. And I mean, it was going on. It probably went on for like a good 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
And everyone was doing it. And so they were getting to the point where some of them would have good days in the gym. Like be squatting like 500 every day. But the kicker is everyone I knew that went to a competition training like that, their competition lifts were nothing like their gym lifts.
Right.
It's like they
And
all tanked that day because you can't peak on that.
well, a lot of people wouldn't even make it through the program. They burn out like in the third week.
Yep, that is very true. It was pretty funny to watch.
But you got to have enough foresight to know that, hey, maxing out every day is probably not the best, you would think.
Yeah. I will say
And
this, like I could see it in like extremely short term, like
right,
very short periods of time where, because the one thing it did do is get you used to holding weight.
yeah,
And a lot of people's daily minimum, as they called it on this program, would go up like short term. Like you you would get used to holding the weight so much that like your daily minimum might go from 450 to like 460, 465. But there's a ton of more downsides to this program. It was when you hopped off the program, all your lifts went down. And the reason all your lifts went down is because you didn't actually get more muscle mass and you didn't really get stronger. You just got accustomed. It's like you basically like you mini peaked.
yeah.
But it was funny to watch. It was a fun time.
Yeah, another tip for everybody listening to this, any kind of program named after like a European country, 9 times out of 10, that program is made by people that are juiced up because it's legal, in Europe,
Hmm.
steroids and everything. So that's another reason them guys could squat every day is because they're taking these drugs that help them recuperate.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a it was not a smart decision to hop on that program for everyone. But man,
Mm-mm.
it was a great time for me.
To watch everybody.
I was just watching all these people and I was like, huh, interesting.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Well, we're trying to talk about, you got to get it while you're young.
Yeah, you gotta get it while you're young. But at the end of the day, if you want it, you'll get it. Even
Yeah,
if you do have responsibilities, you'll find time to train.
I agree.
But I mean, it's a hard thing to do to become good at any sport. I mean, whatever thing you want to get good at, you got to put a ton of time and sacrifice and effort in, no matter if you're young, old, or what. That's just how it is. The world we live in. Unless you're some genetic freak and can do every single sport and every single physical challenge
Yeah.
with ease. I mean, that's just how it is.
And just to tell a little Iron Boy story, we know a guy named Greg Krotz. Well, he used to come to the Iron Boys and stuff when we first started, like back in 2001. And he was actually a martial arts guy, like 148, flipping around, kicking stuff, martial arts guy. Greg Krotz was. So he started powerlifting, which I might be saying this wrong, but I assume he started powerlifting kind of late in the game. So, anyways, he started lifting weights and getting big. So he hit elite in the 2010s. I probably should look this up, but I want to say maybe 2014, 2012, something like that is when he finally hit elite, and this was in 242 class. So it took him 10 years to build all that muscle and get strong. And when he hit elite, he hit the open elite because we have masters elite, which is for people 40 and over, and then we have open elite, which is for everybody. It's the higher number.
Yeah.
Well, he hit the open elite number when he was over 40 years old.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes back to what we're saying. Yeah, you don't have to be young, but you got to be dedicated and put in the work.
100%.
So you definitely can achieve it.
Yep. Oh, another thing. If anyone's watched our Instagram, the Check My Total crew went to Big Shakes today.
Yep. And it was on the money too. It was definitely worth the hype.
Yeah, I like that restaurant a lot. I'm glad that it's very close to me.
And the prices ain't bad either for the amount of food that you get. It was nice.
Yeah, great quality food. Yeah, I got chicken and waffles again.
They
It's hard
give
to pass
you
that up.
Yeah, they give you a big old basket of stuff, and I think pretty much everything was around $9.99.
Yeah.
everything on the menu. And that's, your sandwich or your chicken or your waffle and chicken, and then a side for $10, and then you got to pay for your drink. But it's a good deal.
Man, they got good fries.
If you're in or coming through the southeast of the United States, y'all need to find a Big Shakes in Tennessee, Alabama.
That's right. Go to Big Shakes. I kind of want to go check out their original restaurant in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see how the recipes and stuff compare.
Yeah, it would. And plus, that restaurant's got that challenge.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that in the podcast.
The death challenge or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't do it, but maybe if I keep working my tolerance up.
There you go. And if anybody wants to know what the food looks like, just check out our story on Instagram. Well, it's not our story, but it'll be a highlight by the time y'all listen to this. But yeah, we got a highlight saved of what the food looked like and a little mini review since our video got cut off.
But yeah, I mean that's really about all I have to say about get elite when you're young, but don't be depressed if you got responsibilities. That just means you're probably doing life right.
Right, I agree.
This is how it is. We all grow up.
You're getting old, Andrew.
I know. I'm getting old. Back still aching.
Well, I'm waiting on my return too, but I'm definitely still looking forward to you getting back on the platform.
Yeah, I know. I got to get back on it. Got to get this back better somehow. I don't know how.
Well, break this episode down.
Yeah, let's break it down. Ladies and gentlemen, you're living on borrowed time. The clock is ticking. Live like you're dying and skydive like you're flying. This is the Check My Total podcast. There's ants in the river and toads in the frying pan. You know what they say, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And if you can't take my total, go to a different sport. Because I don't care about my haters. The haters hate me because they ain't me. That's all I gotta say. Peace.
We're out.
Up next is the IBP South Carolina State Powerlifting Championships in Spartanburg, South Carolina on August 17th. If you're a lifter, come on out and lift, and if you're not, come support your lifters. Anyways, we hope to see you there.
Please subscribe, and thank you for listening. Be sure to follow @CheckMyTotal on Instagram for all the latest updates.
September 20th, I think our meet's on the 14th, so I could actually go with you. Let's go to Nevada.
Let's go.
Do it for the meme.
Oh, man.